Chapter 13. 13.1. Arjun speaks. Verse number 1. Arjun spoke, O Keshav, that he desires to know as to what are nature, humans, field body, its knower, knowledge, the object of knowledge. Comments. After the unparalleled event in human history, the creator of this universe with all its contents including nature, was seen by very large number of persons on the higher planets, and persons like Arjun trembled as also the persons on the higher planets. Arjun was completely satisfied that the Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna was on side of the Pandavas to ensure their victory. Arjun yet asks the question included in Shlok number 1 of chapter 13 above. That sight of the Brahm had never happened before nor has ever happened thereafter. Was there any need for the questions? It is obvious that Arjun was bewildered and betrayed definite signs of a weak and intellectually wrecked person. Therefore, Arjun was keen to know of his unbecoming and weak conduct. None better than Shri Krishna could explain to Arjun the intricate subject matter. We might remind ourselves that in the chapters so far, the words used in this shlok have been used frequently. In fact, shlok numbers 3 and 4 of chapter 8 describe the Brahm and some of his qualities and his soul. Words like nature, its effects, the trio, aspects of knowledge, the eternal triad, etc. are also mentioned. Therefore, the above questions by Arjun are more clarificatory in nature. The relationship of the various words and entities is most welcome and helpful being at one place. 13.2. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 2. Shri Krishna spoke, this material body is called the field body. The person who is in the know of the material body is called the knower soul thereof. This is how these are known, O son of Kunti. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. Shlok numbers 2 to 19 of chapter 13 may be read together. 13.3. Ishwar speaks. Verse number 3. He should know the Brahm as the knower of all material bodies. To know of the difference between the body and the knower soul of the body field is true knowledge. That is Brahm's opinion, O Bharat. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna the second self speaks as the self, the Brahm. 13.4. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 4. He, Shri Krishna, will explain in brief about the material body and soul as it is, whence each has come, deficiencies, weaknesses, changes, development, powers, attributes of each. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. 13.5. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 5. Rational description about these aspects has certainly been given in poems and verses by great philosophers, scientists in different ways, and in couplets of many types of ancient literature very clearly, definitely. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. 13.6. Science Psychology. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 6. The 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, sky, false ego, vanity, non-manifest intellect, and the 10 senses, 5, eye, nose, ear, tongue, skin, and 5, hand, leg, mouth, and 2 hidden ones, the impacted senses, mana, and the 5 subject matters of the senses, eye, smelling, hearing, seeing, tasting, and touching. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. For meaning of the word ekam, please see the expression manasasthanendriyani in number 7 of ch.15. 13.7. Science Psychology. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 7. Wish, enmity, happiness, distress, aggregate, totality of consciousness, fortitude, are in brief the description of the qualities attributes of the body soul of the living being, field, with deficiencies weaknesses of both. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self speaks. Please also see comments under Shlok number 7 of ch. 15. These are aspects of consciousness of soul mostly. 13.8. Science Psychology. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 8. Humility, lack of vanity, non-violence, forgiveness, straightness, respect of the learned persons, purity of thought and body, firmness, self-control. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self speaks. Shlok numbers 8 to 12 of chapter 13 may be read together. 13.9. Science Psychology. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 9. Detachment from sensory objects, vanity, birth, death, old age, sickness, pain, suffering, to be aware conscious of the deficiencies weaknesses. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self speaks. Shlok numbers 8 to 12 of chapter 13 may be read together. These are aspects of consciousness of soul mostly. 13.10. Science Psychology. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 10. Detachment, non-emotional involvement with son, wife, home, etc. always, good or bad events, bearing the pleasant and the unpleasant with equanimity. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self speaks. Shlok numbers 8 to 12 of chapter 13 may be read together. These are aspects of consciousness of soul mostly. 13.11. Science Psychology. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 11. To ponder over the teachings etc. of the Brahm in a rather secluded place, without a crowd and to firmly follow. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self speaks. Shlok numbers 8 to 12 of chapter 13 may be read together. 13.12. Science Psychology. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 12. Regular introspection of self and Brahm, to know the reality of material life, has been said to be the correct knowledge. Any thought to the contrary will be called ignorance. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self speaks. In Shlok numbers 8 to 12 of chapter 13, Shri Krishna has set out a viewpoint held and propagated by some thinkers. In Shlok number 11 of chapter 13, the use of the word proktam, it has been said, is to be kept in the forefront. Shri Krishna has a method of stating the viewpoints or thinking of persons other than himself and the Brahm. The foregoing shloks of chapter 13 deal with the living beings. Shlok numbers 13 to 35 of chapter 13 deal with the Brahm. 13.13. Shri Krishna is alter ego of Ishwar the Brahm. Oldest knowledge. Science Psychology. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 13. He will disclose what should be known, and knowing which, one will obtain best of knowledge. From times immemorial, those who follow Brahm's teachings etc., they accept Brahm's existence as real and not as unreal, it is declared. Comments. Shri Krishna speaks as the second self. In the above shlok, Shri Krishna once again refers to the Brahm as a reality. Further, reference may inter alia be made to Shlok number 1 of chapter 4. The following extract of the same is set out. I, Brahm Ishwar, had explained this concept of Avyayam Yogam, hereafter referred to as eternal triad, eternal conjointness, to Vivaswan. Vivaswan explained this concept of 13.14. Description of Ishwar. Science Psychology. The Unmanifest Brahm. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 14. Brahm Ishwar has hands and feet on all sides and everywhere. Similarly, he has eyes, heads, mouths and ears on all sides and everywhere. He has enveloped the world and pervades it. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. Shlok numbers 14 to 35 of chapter 13 may be read together. These describe the Brahm. Reference is made to Shlok numbers 7 to 30 of chapter 11, where a view of the Brahm, creator, but in a compacted form, is shown. Shri Krishna is Brahm's alter ego, and in Shlok number 12 of chapter 13 and onwards, describe the extent and nature of the Brahm Ishwar. Shlok numbers 7 to 30 of chapter 11 and Shlok numbers 12 and 13 of chapter 13 leave no room for doubt that the Brahm is a living entity with a body and soul. This body of the Brahm is not visible to most living beings and at most of the time. No vacuum in universe. Please also refer to Shlok numbers 3 and 4 of chapter 8, where the words Brahm, soul and action are defined. Please also refer inter alia to Shlok numbers 6, 17, 18 of chapter 9, Shlok number 42 of chapter 10, etc., where details of the same subject matter are given. It is clarified here that after the universal, form body has been shown and described, it will not be correct yet to say of or use the expression Nirakar Brahm or without form. The Brahm has definitely an akar, a shape with an infinite expanse. Also see Shlok numbers 7 to 30 of chapter 10. It is clearly stated that Brahm has countless forms. Some instances have been set out in chapter 10. These forms are part of the unmanifest Brahm. 13.15. Description of Ishwar qualitatively. Science Psychology. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 15. He, Brahm, has all the feelings that the senses convey, although he has no senses in the ordinary way. He is unattached, yet he is taking care of everyone. He is without the effect of the three attributes caused by material nature, although using them in his eternal life. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. What Shri Krishna is clarifying in this shlok is the difference between the Brahm and the ordinary living beings. Unlike ordinary beings, persons, he is not affected either by the ill effects of the senses or the ill effects of the three attributes caused due to nature, fruitive goodness, sattva, fruitive keenness, rajas, and fruitive ignorance, tamas. 13.16. Brahm described qualitatively. Science Psychology. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 16. He, Brahm, exists within and without the living beings. He is moving and non-moving, mobility and immobility. He is near as well as far away. He is subtle and therefore not seen ordinarily. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. Shlok numbers 14 to 35 of chapter 13 may be read together. 13.17 Science Psychology Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 17. He, Brahm, is undivided as also divided and existing in all living beings. He is the knowable. He is the maintainer of all living beings as well as their destroyer, as time personified, and the redeveloper recreator. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. The above shlok number 17 of chapter 13 be read along with shlok number 46 of chapter 11, where Arjun had requested Shri Krishna to show him, Arjun, the four-armed form. In shlok number 21 of chapter 10, it is stated that of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. It is in this context that in shlok numbers 24, 30 of chapter 11, Arjun refers to the word Vishnu for the Brahm. In shlok number 46 of chapter 11, Arjun requests for the sight of the four-armed form. From shlok number 46 of chapter 11 onwards and right up to shlok number 17 of chapter 13, the four-armed Vishnu has not been seen. Note: the word Prabhavishnu has been interpreted according to the Sanskrit-English dictionary, edited and revised by Pandit Ishwar Chandra, first new recomposed edition, year 2008, published by Parimal Publications, Delhi. 13.18 Science Psychology Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 18. He, Brahm, is the light of the luminous. He is beyond darkness, darkness cannot cover it. He is knowledge personified. He is the subject to know about. He is the target of all knowledge. He lives in every heart. This is declared. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. 13.19 Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 19. Thus, in brief, subject of the body, field, knowledge and the knowable have been explained. After knowing this, follow Brahm's teachings etc. to be able to understand his thoughts and his thinking. Comment. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna speaks as the second self. 13.20 Understand science. Origin of instincts. 3 attributes. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 20. One should understand, assume, that nature and the soul of living beings are also very, very ancient. The deficiencies and 3 attributes caused due to nature are born caused from the nature. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. The eternal triad has to have the better of the effects of the trio. 13.21 Quality of soul science. Nature defined evolution. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 21. In this world, the action, the effect, the cause-reason, the subject of creation is said to be the nature. It is said that soul feels happiness and unhappiness. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. Shlok numbers 20 and 21 of chapter 13 may be read together. In the above shlok, Shri Krishna has used the expression it is said that to express a viewpoint. Shri Krishna has used the expression you understand in the previous shlok as also elsewhere. What Shri Krishna wants to convey is that for all practical purposes, life should be considered as very, very ancient. The reason being that the Brahm's alter ego second self knows the beginning of everything. But the period of time may be so old and ancient that if it was to be enumerated in terms of years, the number will be beyond comprehension. The above shlok also indicates about the process of evolution of the living beings. For detailed comment please inter alia see shlok numbers 10 of chapter 3, 6 of chapter 7, 8 to 10 of chapter 9. 13.22 Esoteric Science 3 Attributes Evolution. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 22. The soul while existing in nature partakes of and is affected by nature through its qualities attributes arising therefrom, commonly referred to as the three attributes caused due to nature. The soul in conjunction with association with the three attributes qualities arising from nature causes the living entity soul to take birth in good higher or bad lower forms species of life. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self speaks. Shlok numbers 22 and 23 of chapter 13 may be read together along with shlok numbers 7 and 8 of ch 15. This shlok read with shlok numbers 9 to 14 of chapter 3 shows that after the initial creation of living beings, the Brahm enabled the impregnated nature to continue to produce the living beings ad infinitum. This was partly similar to the creation of the stars, planets etc. which were planned to continue and coexist ad infinitum. Why should the Brahm permit destruction of such planned creations? The soul while existing in nature partakes of and is affected by nature through its qualities attributes arising therefrom, commonly referred to as the three attributes caused due to nature. The soul in conjunction with association with the three attributes qualities arising from nature causes the living entity soul to take birth in good higher or bad lower forms species of life. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self speaks. Shlok numbers 22 and 23 of chapter 13 may be read together along with shlok numbers 7 and 8 of ch 15. This shlok read with shlok numbers 9 to 14 of chapter 3 shows that after the initial creation of living beings, the Brahm enabled the impregnated nature to continue to produce the living beings ad infinitum. This was partly similar to the creation of the stars, planets etc. which were planned to continue and coexist ad infinitum. Why should the Brahm permit destruction of such planned creations? Prematerial body effects on soul. The above shlok has given clearest and unequivocal views stated below. 1. The soul living entity has to bear the consequences of the surroundings while in nature. 2. The consequences are because of the influence of nature through its properties attributes. 3. It is the soul that takes on another form of life. 4. The form of life and its pleasant blissful conditions or otherwise also depend on the effects of the nature through its properties attributes. Please also inter alia see shlok numbers 10 of chapter 3, 6 of chapter 7, 3, 4 of chapter 8, 1 to 6, 20 to 27 of chapter 13, 3 and 4 of chapter 14. Reference is also invited to shlok numbers 37 to 42 of chapter 3, where the effects of the three attributes caused due to nature have already been indicated. The present shlok number 22 of chapter 13 and subsequent shlok number 23 of chapter 13 further detail the interaction and role of the nature through its attributes properties on the soul living entity while existing in nature. This is the beginning. Form body is second stage, but the first for the karmic reactions. For further discussion please see shlok numbers 3 and 4 of chapter 14. 13.23 Soul Master Effect Good or Bad Nature Brahm. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 23. Near but pervasive overseer, the permitter consenter, protector consumer enjoyer sufferer, the sole living entity is the highest in the body, field, has the above mentioned roles to play, do and enact, and has also some attributes of the Brahm. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. Shlok numbers 22 and 23 of chapter 13 may be read together. The above shlok clarifies that the sole living entity in the body field of living persons is only one to suffer, to enjoy, to oversee and to permit actions, but has also the touch of divinity in it. Reference is invited to shlok numbers 37 to 42 of chapter 3 and shlok numbers 22 and 23 of chapter 13. Further, by proper reading of these various shloks, it is clear that under the influence of the nature through its properties attributes, the three attributes caused due to nature, the thoughts, responses, the consciousness, decisions, methods and modes of taking action, reaction, etc. are taken by the living entity soul being a fragment of the Brahm. It is this divine part which oversees all activities and tries to overcome the impacted consciousness caused by other impressions, etc. stated above on the soul while in nature and thereafter in a material body. Paramatma. An harmonious reading of shlok numbers 37 to 42 of chapter 3 and shlok number 22 of chapter 13, along with shlok number 23 of chapter 13, will show that on the one part of the soul living entity, Kshetrajya, is the influence of nature, impacted consciousness, through its properties attributes via the senses leading to sprouting of instincts affecting the soul living entity. On the other hand, is the divine part of the soul living entity with its overseeing and pervasive control of all that emanates from the actions, reactions, etc. due to the instincts, body with its senses, impacted consciousness and applied intellect. Also, inter alia see shlok numbers 30, 31, 32, 59, 64 of chapter 2, 9 of ch. 3, 7, 13 of chapter 5 etc. which declare that the soul is the master of the body. 13.24. Moksha irrespective of occupation, profession. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 24. Anyone who has understood the relationship, nature through its properties attributes causing the instincts and the soul living entity as part of the Brahm irrespective of his present condition occupation, he may not have a rebirth. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. The above shlok states the core truth in 2 lines only. This has been said earlier in the sermon. This is repeated many times in the life of humans. The sermon has disclosed the above relationship without a doubt. A great scientific truth has been revealed. However, to summarize the kernel of the truth, one should remember that the soul in the living beings is part of the Ishwar. Intrinsically, therefore, the soul is pure and sublime without any blemishes. Nature has also been created by Ishwar the Brahm. Effects caused due to activities of the constituents of nature cause good or bad effects on the senses of the living beings, which are communicated as impressions on the consciousness of the soul. The bad effects, whether past or present, have been called as part of the impacted consciousness of the soul. The process of cleansing the soul by removal of the scars, blemishes, etc. while leading the life of a householder and discharging one's duties all around through the only path detailed throughout this sermon and is shortly described as the eternal triad, Avyayam Yogam, in shlok number 1 of chapter 4. The unique feature of the shlok is to obliterate the significance of an occupation profession. This leads to auto-elevation spiritually and to auto gains materially. The eternal triad, Avyayam Yogam, including 1. Collection of correct information knowledge, Gyan Yog, 2. Correct analysis rationally, called the Buddhi Yog including Sankhya, for a correct conclusion decision, 4. 3. Taking of a correct action, Karma Yog, should have the better of the trio, i.e. 1. Fruitive goodness, Sattva, 2. Fruitive keenness, Rajas, and 3. Fruitive ignorance, Tamas, caused due to nature. However, a word of caution for all of us is that the whole process stated above is easier said than done. Clear understanding at all stages is required. For further discussion, please refer inter alia to shlok numbers 45 of chapter 2, 4 and 5 of chapter 7, 12 to 15 of chapter 7, 7 and 8 of chapter 15, etc. 13.25 Eternal Triad, the only path. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 25. Cycle of death and birth may be ended according to some, only by meditation contemplation in relation to oneself and the soul to understand the same, 2. According to some others, by reasoning only, according to some others, by action only. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. In the above shlok, the conditions laid down in shlok number 24 of chapter 13 have been ignored by the persons mentioned in shlok number 25 of chapter 13. They wrongly think that any one of the first two mentioned ways, processes, methods above is sufficient. Bhagwat Gita has rejected the above wrong thinking repeatedly in the clearest terms. The only way of leading the life properly and correctly with the possibility of elevation or auto-elevation spiritually, including the merger with the Brahm, is action according to the teachings etc. of the Brahm indicated in shlok number 1 of chapter 4, i.e. the eternal triad, Avyayam Yogam, and as reiterated by Shri Krishna. The first two methods cannot elevate the soul to the state of merger with the Brahm either singly or jointly. Please see inter alia. Numbers 54 and 55 of ch. 11, where the only way of merger with the Brahm is indicated. 13.26 Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 26. There are other persons who without personal knowledge, hear with trust faith about the aspects of the soul living entity from authoritative sources and have full faith in that, also get over the cycle of life and death. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. The above shlok refers to a class of persons who may be trying to know the truth of the Ishwar, the Brahm, the soul, the nature etc., their relationship and interaction by hearing only. If what they are taught accords with the teachings etc. of the Bhagavad Gita and sincerely follow those, including the discharge of duties, then such a class of persons may also be elevated spiritually and may get over the cycle of life and death. 13.27 Science. Evolution. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 27. O chief of the Bharats, he should understand that all living beings which are produced, born, begotten, by their nature moving or not moving, are the result of the combination of the soul and the body, materials of which the body consists of. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. The above shlok is the clearest scientific analysis that life forms are created, sprout, born as indicated in shlok numbers 22, 23 and 26 of chapter 13, particularly as a result of the combination of the matter and non-gross matter, soul. That is the field and its knower soul, Kshetra and Kshetragya, in certain physical conditions. Whatever is not non-gross matter has to be categorized as gross matter and as part of the nature. The gross matter may have the non-gross matter in it. Reference is invited to Shlok numbers 37 to 42 of chapter 3, 1 to 6 of chapter 13. The above shlok is clearly indicative of the process of evolution in the forms and abilities of different living beings. Reference is also invited inter alia to Shlok numbers 9 to 14 of chapter 3, 6 of chapter 7, 3 and 4 of chapter 8, 8 to 10 of chapter 9. Please also see Shlok number 10 of chapter 3, 6 of chapter 7, 1 to 6, 20 to 27 of chapter 13. 13.28 Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 28. The person who understands that the Brahm pervades equally in all living beings but is not destroyed on the death of the living beings, correctly understands. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. This is referring to the presence of the individual soul in all living beings and which is fragment of the Brahm's omni-soul. This is how he is present equally in all living beings. 13.29 Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 29. The person who understands and is conscious that Brahm Creator exists everywhere equally may not adversely affect his soul living entity by his actions inactions and may reach the highest destination. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. The above shlok contemplates and refers to a situation when a person is very much aware and is fully alive to the fact that the Brahm is everywhere and in everybody including that person and thereby follows the teachings etc. of the Brahm and as reiterated by Shri Krishna. In this situation, this person is not likely to do any action which can be treated as a wrong. Rather, his actions are likely to be in furtherance of the object's purposes of the Brahm. Therefore, his soul which has acted according to the norms of righteousness will only result in its soul's emancipation. He is present everywhere because the individual soul is fully aware of its intrinsic purity and intrinsic potential. 13.30 Science much behind. 3 attributes. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 30. The person who understands that the nature, through the 3 attributes i.e., 1. Fruitive goodness sattva, 2. Fruitive keenness rajas and the fruitive ignorance tamas, is the bedrock and the cause of initiation of actions in all respects apparently, but not really, and the soul doing the malfunctions under the influence caused by above factors causes understands the position correctly. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. The above shlok refers to the factual position of actions responses, the instincts etc. in the living beings which are the result of and the effect of events occurrences in nature, mostly in the past, natural events like earthquakes, volcanic action, storm, tsunami etc. Further, the senses, the applied intellect etc. communicate to the soul but under the deep impressions of the instincts and the acts on the soul. The soul responds the way the actions are. The above shlok is confined to a limited situation. One should correctly understand the effect of and the extent of nature and its interplay with the soul. 13.31 Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 31. One should understand that in the living beings there are separate effects due to nature on the soul, consciousness. However, situated in one entity, the development evolution depends on these two, the consciousness of the soul and the effects caused due to nature, etc., then such a person correctly understands the Brahm's view. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. This shlok number 31 of chapter 13 may be read along with shlok numbers 10 of ch 3, 6 of ch 7, 3 and 4 of chapter 8, 1 to 6, 20 to 27 of chapter 13, so far as development evolution of material bodies of living beings is concerned. The above shloks underline the fact that after the Brahm created the universe, nature, matter and the living beings, these have been in the process of development and evolution. 13.32 Soul, pure consciousness. To conquer longing, impacted consciousness. Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 32. The eternal Brahm resides in everybody since time immemorial, because individual soul is fragment of Brahm's soul. He is unaffected by the three attributes caused due to nature. He is neither attached nor responsible for actions of a body. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self, speaks. This shlok really deals with day-to-day life of individual soul and if its activities have impact on the omni-soul. The answer given is that ordinarily, no. This shlok refers to a particular situation only. A distinction is being made between the Brahm as the indestructible, eternal, divine living entity as described in the earlier shlok numbers 3 and 4 of chapter 8 and 31 of chapter 13 etc. and the divided, but divine part in everybody. The other part, I the soul, is confined to a particular body and as part of that particular body causes and oversees all actions, reactions, responses etc. of the body. In shlok number 23 of chapter 13, the detailed role of the soul and its nature have been set out. English translation of the said shlok reads as, near and pervasive overseer, the permitter consenter, protector consumer sufferer enjoyer, the soul living entity is the highest in the body, field, has the above mentioned roles to play, do and enact and has also some the attributes of the Brahm Ishwar. Ishwar as doer. Further, reference be also made to shlok number 43 of chapter 3. The English translation is reproduced as under, thus, know the soul living entity to be superior to own intellect. The soul has to conquer the formidable enemy of longing, desire, O mighty armed one. Further, reference also be made to shlok number 24 of chapter 2, where Shri Krishna details the attributes of the omni-soul being present everywhere etc. Further, reference is also invited to shlok number 25 of chapter 2, where indication is given of the individual soul in relation to the omni-soul. Reference is also invited to shlok number 30 of chapter 2, where it is said that the soul is the master of the material body. In view of the above extracts from different shloks, it is submitted that this shlok is indicating the role of the omni-soul which has been referred to as the witness only elsewhere. The omni-soul is not to do anything. This is so in relation to an individual living being, generally. This will also be a general statement given in the shlok, and this is how the shlok should be interpreted. Role of the individual soul should not be mixed with the role of the omni-soul. Situations in a society requiring direct intervention of the Brahm, say, as described in numbers 6 to 9 of ch.4 and the like, are not covered by this shlok. Therefore, not always the omni-soul is a mere witness. Generally, it may be so with reference to the individual living entities. Otherwise, Ishwar is busier than anyone else. Please also inter alia see Shlok numbers 10 of chapter 3, 15 of chapter 3, 4, 6 of chapter 7, 9 of chapter 9, 3, 6 of chapter 10. Note, the word Paramatma has been interpreted as Brahm in view of the language of the above shlok. In shlok number 6 of ch. 7 the word Paramatma has been interpreted differently in view of the context and language of that shlok. 13.33 Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 33. His eternal living self being very subtle, pervades everywhere under the sky, like the ether and does not get entangled attached although situated in every living being, his fragment as human soul may get attached. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self speaks. Shlok numbers 31 and 32 of ch. 13 refer to the Brahm. Therefore, number 33 of ch. 13 above necessarily but impliedly also refers to the Brahm. Therefore, the above interpretation has been adopted. This is the reason that these comments have accepted that the individual soul has a pure part and may have an impure part. The above shlok describes the relationship of the omni-soul of the Brahm with the fragment of his soul present in the living beings. Only by way of clarification, it is submitted that the individual soul may get entangled for several reasons and causes mentioned earlier. 13.34 Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 34. O Bharat, just as the sun lights up illuminates the entire earth, the soul in each body lights up illuminates the body. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self speaks. 13.35 Shri Krishna speaks. Verse number 35. Person should know and understand through knowledge the difference between the soul and the human body field, the universe and the Brahm. If the living beings can also understand the process of liberation from the three attributes caused due to nature, they may reach the highest, the Brahm. Comments. Brahm's alter ego Shri Krishna, the second self speaks.